It's been 1 year since Peppermint Park Volume 6 was uploaded in its entirety. While I've never truly expressed how I felt knowing Peppermint Park was over, in a sense, I feel that it's a bittersweet ending to something that I loved talking about, and when it was all over, I really wasn't sure where to go in regards to my channel and in videos in general. Peppermint Park is something I hold dear to me even when I try not to. I almost sold my copies at one point of the tapes, and I ultimately rejected it as I felt the tapes were now part of me in a sense. I felt like it's something that is just something I can't give up, and I can never give them up at this point. But with that being said, I'm here today to talk about what has happened since that fateful day in May of 2018, as well as two of my biggest projects. I'm going to let you know these two projects are very ambitious and they are in production. So whether it's a script or whether it's a blueprint, I will be discussing in this video today. Just a quick little disclaimer. After many weeks and months of preparing and negotiating, I've decided it's time for me to spill the news. I've decided I will be making my own Peppermint Park spin-off as well as my own Volume 7. I want to start by talking about Peppermint Park Volume 7 as this is my first project that I plan on releasing, and there's more information on it than I have right now for the other one. So Peppermint Park Volume 7 will feature different locations as I am currently living in New York. So you won't see things in Los Angeles, for example. You will see many new ideas that I've really wanted to try out, but my most anticipated video I'll get to later. Peppermint Park Volume 7 is going to feature many of the skits from the original. By that, I mean I'm going to take the essence of the ideas of Peppermint Park and propel them to my own ideas. There are some ideas that were cut. So, for example, Peppermint Park is notorious for using some of the things like that drumming studio, as well as the whatchamacallit, as well as the, oh my goodness, I'm blanking on it. It's like the water place, the different places in Los Angeles. I had some of those in the original script, but they were cut from the final draft that I made. Now you may be wondering, wait a minute, you made a final draft? So yes, I did. Peppermint Park Volume 7 has a release date right now of summer of 2020 with the tentative date of being June 26, 2020. That is the tentative date I have, which means it can be delayed. The longest delay it'll be is by 2 weeks, and the only reason for those 2 weeks is because I don't know if I will be in New York at the time of its release. So it may be delayed 2 weeks early or 2 weeks late, which means I may upload it 2 weeks before the 26th or 2 weeks after, depending on what's going on. In a sense of good news, however, Peppermint Park Volume 7 script is actually, I would say, about 95% done. I started writing it actually close to a year and a half ago. So back when Peppermint Park Volume 6 was just being spoken about with Pumpkin Merriam, I started writing a script for Volume 7, thinking that Volume 6 was done, and I thought I would have it in time, but we all know where that went. I'll be making a video on that in time. However, Peppermint Park Volume 7 is now roughly 95% done, as I said, and it's going to feature some of the essence of the original Peppermint Park. One of the things that I need to mention, however, is the fact that the puppets may or may not be replicated or the originals. This is where the delay had to happen. My original hope was that Peppermint Park would be released sometime in the early part of 2020. However, that is not necessarily the case. The reason for that is because currently John Horton's daughter and I are still in conversation. As of May 30th today, we just finished having a conversation where she's unsure of what is the current status of what John Horton wants to do with the puppets. Does he want to sell them or not to me? And I'm just not going to sugarcoat it because this is something you guys need to know. We've been in talks since roughly maybe June or May of 2018, not too long after Pumpkin Merriam and I ceased conversation. As of that time and as of now, we're still in this limbo in a sense of what's going to happen with these puppets and everything that I've chosen that I want to purchase. It's been a bit difficult, and it's not on her, it's not on John, it's just he's usually out of the country, and at the same time she doesn't want to make a move without his consent first. So I've thrown a couple of offers around and we're negotiating still, so it still is in effect. However, if by the time I decide to begin shooting Peppermint Park Volume 7, if I do not have them, I will be getting my own replicated. Now, I have 2 people currently who are willing to make them. One means that it may not be a puppet. One, it may be. It depends. One may be a plush. It really is situational right now. I don't know which route I'm going to go towards. I need the route that's the fastest, because I've given you the tentative date. You know that it's going to be somewhere on June 26th, whether 2 weeks before, 2 weeks after, or on that day. I do not want to delay it any further. I have the script 95% done, and I'll explain the last 5% and why it's still not done. However, if we cannot meet an agreement on the Peppermint Park puppets by the date of July, my goal is July 8th is the last day I will be accepting Peppermint Park's original puppets for Volume 7. Does not mean I'm giving up on buying them. It just means I'm giving up on adding them into Volume 7. And the reason for that is because the shooting must take place during the summer of this year. If I wait any further, it will be delayed. Because I don't know if you know New York weather very well, but in New York it snows. And I do not want a snowy Peppermint Park Volume 7. It's not meant to be a Christmas special. I'll get to that later. I want it to be in the summer or the spring because that's when I felt that this would be the best time for this type of video. The other issue is waiting. As I said just before, if I wait any further, I know that Peppermint Park will be delayed. So I have 2 people right now that I'm in conversation with. One is a very close friend of mine who's willing to make a plush of it easily. The other is a puppet creator who will be making a foam puppet of it with like a felt type of exterior. It will be a different type of Ernie, or more like a recreated Ernie. And I don't know if I want to go that route yet. Ernie will actually be a very basic puppet at that point. He'll have 2 limbs that can easily be moved up and down by wires, as well as a single unit for the head. That was what I was thinking of doing originally. That would be like a basic Muppet Sesame Street character. I don't know if I want to go that route, only because if I go that route and I can get Ernie later, that would be really good. That's why the plush one comes in handy, because it would be very easily made, very quickly made, and overall pretty cheap to make. That's up to interpretation, and that video will be brought out by July 8th. I will be talking about which puppet will be made, because the foam puppet could take anywhere from 3 to 6 months. And I see where I'm going with this. I just said I wanted to shoot it during the summer. And that's where the issue comes in. If I want to shoot it during the summer and it's a 3 to 6 month process, it's going to be a problem. So I've already spoken with this creator of this puppet, and I've asked for an ASAP order. An ASAP order is I pay slightly more money in order for the puppet to be made at a faster rate. The puppet would be made, from what I was told, no more than 30-something days. I think it was 38 or something. About a month and a couple of days. I think the person said a month and a week at the latest, because I would be top priority because I'm paying extra. If Alyssa does not agree to sell the puppet by July 8th, I will have no choice but to go with the ASAP order. From there, we're going to have to go into the route of creating the video. Now, I'm going to let you know, Peppermint Park Volume 7 is currently being is currently being shot in 3 different aspects. Now, the reason for that is because right now we're just testing out which video quality is the most consistent to the original content. So for example, I have a 1988 Panasonic one that I'm currently using, a 1996 Sony camcorder, and a 2006 JVC hand quarter, whatever it's called. I do not plan on getting a high-end video for this project. The reason for it is because I'm trying to keep it consistent with the original grainy quality of the original for now. The reason for that is because Peppermint Park Volume 7 still takes place in the 80s. The exact year it takes place is actually 1989. And you're going to see a couple of parts that will be reminiscent of that. Part of the shooting actually takes place in a part of Brooklyn known as Prospect Park and downtown Brooklyn. There's very old buildings there, rustic buildings, that have been around since as early as 1906. Somewhere where I actually used to work took place there. And the reason for this is I'm currently trying to create something that would be viable and creatable at that time period. This is part of why it takes a while, because all three cameras have to be working consistently. The 1988 Panasonic, for example, does have issues with its lighting. So it does have inconsistent lighting, which makes it a little bit difficult to shoot with. The 1996 Sony camera, however, is pretty consistent, except the sound quality is not that great. So I've actually had someone come in and we're going to edit the sound into the video. It's going to be a whole big spiel and a whole big process, but it will get done. And I am looking forward to that. So most likely we will be using the 96 Sony camcorder, whatever you want to call it. Next, Peppermint Park Volume 7 does feature a couple of different characters. The only character I will mention that is going to be featured is Ernie, because he does have a bit of a cameo from Volume 3. So there's a little bit of a joke that's thrown in. And speaking of jokes, actually many of the jokes that were created were scrapped from the original draft of Peppermint Park Volume 7. And the reason for that was actually because I felt like some of the jokes and some of the things I was doing were forced, because Peppermint Park is unintentionally funny. It's not meant to be comedic. However, it's off the wall, almost in a sense strange quality or poor quality is actually what outlets that sense of hilarity. And I don't want to make that a forced replication. I'm trying to make it an indirect one, similar to what they do. So yeah, the quality is meant to be bad, but it's not meant to be intentionally terrible. It's meant to be unintentionally terrible. Like, I'm trying to make it good at the same time, which is part of the reason why the script took forever to make. Oh my god, that was difficult. I would love to show you guys what happened with the original drafts. We had to dump so many things. Which leads me to my last point. Why the 5% is still there. I currently have someone working on a song for Peppermint Park Volume 7. It's going to be very cheesy, very lame, which is what it's meant to be. It will be a letter song, and it's going to be very over the top, very corny, and very oddly made, because that's the way I wanted it to be. Now, I want to talk about an important question that I just know someone's going to ask me this in the comment section. And I'm going to say, if you're thinking it right now, I'm going to say yes to it. Are you ready? I feel someone's going to ask me, do I plan on releasing Peppermint Park VHS Volume 7 as something you can buy? The answer is yes. Currently, Peppermint Park Volume 7 does have a case that I created. It will be similar to Volumes 1 through 6. It has a very, very, very similar look to it. The only difference is the lighting is a little different. I currently have someone who just finished a draft of the case for me. So the not a clamshell case, but like the standard box case. It's almost done. The title is tentative, so right now it just says Peppermint Park Volume 7 TBD. It doesn't have like a Discover Feelings or anything in there just yet. because we're still trying to determine. We want it to be something that, if you notice, all the Peppermint Park VHSs have like a one-off line that somehow gets put into the title. We're determining which one we're going to do with that right now. But when that gets done, we will show you the draft for it. The tape isn't even going to be that expensive. It's going to be about maybe $15 to $18, with the maximum being $20. That's the highest I would do. One guy was like, "Oh, well, you can sell it for $30." I'm like, I would not want to do that to someone. 20 is my limit at best. So it will be available. There will be only 10 copies at first. When I'm ready, there will be a pre-order available. The pre-order will not be until the tentative date for Peppermint Park Volume 7 on YouTube is decided. So please don't say to me, "Hey, is the pre-order ready?" It's not. Don't ask me privately if you can have a copy just yet. I will let you know. The first 10 tapes will be sold. However, after that, I plan on releasing more, but I don't know when. So the first 10 will be released, and then after that, we'll go from there. From there, the last thing I just wanted to mention was that all this is final, as in the draft and the script for Peppermint Park is nearly finished and finalized. There's nothing more I really need to do to it except determine if it's successful or not. And by that I mean, if Peppermint Park Volume 7 is successful, I plan on releasing one volume a year. Volume 8 would come out, for example, in 2021. 2022 could be Volume 9. Similar to how the others work. If Peppermint Park Volume 7 takes place in 1989, most likely I would put 1990 as the year. And so on. But for right now, Volume 7 is the only one that has currently been written and put on a date. It really all depends on the sales of the tapes as well as the success rate of the video itself. That's all the information I have for right now. However, we will be discussing things at a later time. For example, I will be discussing what happened with Peppermint Park Volume 6 and why it took so long. That will be a video for a later day. I have a script ready for that, and I want to make sure that it's something that I address to you guys. Only a handful of people know about it right now. But other than that, we will be in touch, and I will talk to you all soon. Have a good one. Bye.